Didn't I tell you King was still kicking? Okay. First you're gonna have to storm the base. Then once you've secured it, you'll have to wipe out Killian's forces. She'll be forced to surrender. And then she'll have to answer to the man.
Commander, King's ordering our soldiers to stand down against the invaders. It's insanity! They're getting slaughtered out there! I respect your loyalty to King, but for the sake of the Brotherhood, for the sake of all mankind, I am begging you to please abort this mission. Together, you and I, we can figure out a way to turn this around. Please, Commander, you're my only hope.
Incoming transmission. Gain control of Killian's southern base by capturing the operations center and the construction yard. Do not allow your saboteurs to die. Enemy base sighted.
We must get to...
Welcome back, Commander. The cutscene would allude that Killian is under a lot of attacks. Maybe the aliens are hitting her HQ, something, but that's a pretty bold-faced lie, really.
Need help with anything?
I had to restart this several times because, frankly, there seems to be one right way to do this and many, many wrong ways.
Attack.
Everything goes.
Now, my first attempts were to go north first and then west into the base. However, with the amount of forces that Killian's southern base has, there's just not much of a point.
Do you require?
All you have to do is capture the two structures, and once that's done, you just gain control of everything.
May I assist you?
Building captured. Our base is under attack. New construction options. Funds transferred. Killian's southern base is turned to your side. Building.
And since destroying units is counterproductive,
Capture or destroy the Temple of Nod to gain control of Killian's base on Ayers Rock. Do not destroy Killian's headquarters. Tiberium
there's just not much of a point. Now, there are a select few bonus objectives to do. One that you're going to want to prioritize is getting the mutant marauders. Essentially, the problem is that Killian will try to capture it, but won't actually produce anybody, and worse, won't actually send anybody to really defend it. So what ends up happening is there's a series of like 4 mutant squads that are around this building, and so they'll just start attacking the building. And if you don't prevent them from doing something quickly enough, the building just blows up. Another problem is that having the building yourself also puts that at risk, because Killian sends a bunch of waves, and if they get a whiff of it, they'll just start attacking it, even though it doesn't really make much sense or has a priority or anything. So, again, you need to focus on getting them ASAP. Another thing I found that worked tremendously well, and if you don't, you're probably going to lose rather quickly, is one, building a lot of AA defenses. I could have probably skipped this because I might have just been very quick for the objective I was going for. And you need to build a bunch of bombers and have those bombers destroy Killian's air towers. If you don't, she will essentially constantly bombard you with bombers, and since they're cloaked, they get priority in attacking. It makes it nearly impossible to defend against them. There's so many times where I'm trying to survive, I have my base set up, and my turrets are just being blown out of the water constantly. It's just not sustainable. And the other thing, too, is much like the previous mission, we can see that the Tiberium field in the southwest is already depleted.
I can help you. May I assist?
Sadly, getting the Tiberium spikes is a good move, however, not one that you can really sustain, because, again, much like the mutant hovel that we've captured, Killian's bases, or Killian's units, will just walk by and then immediately aggro them and blow them up.
Building captured.
So while you can get money from them, you either have to make sure you can secure the building, which most likely won't be the case without it just like blowing up. Or you secure an area in front of it and have that be your defense.
We have recruited mutants to our cause. Bonus objective.
Very well, Bomber.
Enemy units
We have a
sighted.
target.
Enemy
Still
base
systems
sighted.
check.
Intelligence
Scan is
code
open.
updated.
Prepare bombing run.
Now, I'm not quite sure what exactly any of the triggers are for the mission, because Killian won't replace buildings, even though she has money. She is harvesting. She has a construction yard and a crane. Even after losing your construction yard, she'll still continue to refuse to replace buildings. So, but she'll still repair certain buildings at certain levels. So I'm not 100% sure what exactly determines the behavior. As you can imagine, I also had a rather close call and decided I'm just going to start building some black hands to do damage, and hope that they'll absorb enough punishment. And now I kind of have to go back to an old tactic that we saw previously, which is make use of all the avatars that Killian is going to send our way, which are plenty. One thing that should also be noted is avatars. It's been mentioned before that they're able to pick up special bonuses from other units on the map. These being, the flamethrower tank, the tac bike, the stealth tank, and the buggy. Is it? There's always one I forget. Regardless, or beam cannon. God. Those upgrades never leave, in the sense that if an avatar that has that upgrade dies, if you can reclaim the corpse, you're good. You reclaim, it keeps all of its upgrades, even though it died. Now, as prior with the Mutant Hovel and the Tiberian Spike, your harvesters will always manage to throw themselves into the line of fire, and there's no real survivability. Their AI just works one specific way. I don't really expect it to be any different, but it's just how it ends up playing out. Sadly, the trick to go around and just destroy a bunch of free units, like the flamethrower tank, whatever, to get their upgrade, only works once. So you can't really stack a bunch of avatars and just grab everything all the time.
On my way.
Construction complete.
I can help you. Trusted me.
For whatever reason, Killian also has a bunch of money crates in her base, and for whatever reason, dropping infantry in her base does not, aggro anybody. You can move to grab all of these crates and move back, and that flamethrower tank nearest doesn't quite follow, which I thought they would. I kind of just assumed the infantry squad would die, but much to my surprise, 20 minutes later, they're still alive and kicking. I can't really do anything with them anyways. They're just one infantry squad, so they're not really strong or whatever. But getting that amount of money, $4,000, really does benefit you in the long run. Even though I keep losing Obelisk Light, honestly, it's a worthwhile investment just because, one, the structure is just so strong, and again, being able to destroy avatars is just always going to give you an advantage. Now, my plan is to build an outpost, have that scout essentially go over to the Tiberium field, and then build a bunch of structures there so that I can have a bit more of a forward posture.
Unit
We shall
promoted.
take what we wish.
And once this all goes according to plan, and I have a base far more forward and better access to the blue Tiberium field, then I'll be able to essentially send another emissary and kind of just leapfrog up to Killian's base. Now, I'm not going to do that in the long run, but it is certainly a plan that you could do. As you can imagine, the problem is, or at least always appears to be, the lack of funds. For 2 missions now, that's just been a constant. And the way that pathfinding works really makes it so that your harvesters are always under threat. You never really know which wave will have attack bikes or something with sensors to detect them. And because of the relative weakness that they are, they're just going to immediately blow up.
May I assist you? Yes, of course. I can help.
Thankfully, there still seems to be I don't really know a bug, but more of an exploit where having an engineer in range or, targetable really peeves the AI. They really want to have units walk around and chase after engineers, even if it serves them no purpose. If there's nothing for them to capture in the nearby area, whatever. And also, more importantly, if they're being shot at by like 12 other avatars of Cain.
Together.
Or I guess not, whichever.
Thought so.
And yeah, the War Factory is really only there just to provide repairs. And whenever I lose a harvester, which I might lose another one here, I can just replace them far quicker.
The Brotherhood has entrusted me. I can help you. The Brotherhood has entrusted me.
As you can imagine, having destroyed so many of these waves and having so many engineers that I'm just going around and grabbing everything makes it so that I should be able to push into Killian's base soon enough.
Unit under attack.
The fact that I'm also have nuked her base like twice now is also a good thing. Now at this point, I'm lining myself up to grab the Tiberium silos because I figured this might be the end. Hint, look at the right side of the minimap, there's a lot of blank space. What could that be for, etc., etc. And for whatever reason, these Tiberium silos also have mutants. It's kind of confusing as to why mutants are around, hostile to Nod, but Nod doesn't shoot them, but sometimes does. I don't know, it's strange. It feels like someone forgot to turn on or perhaps off a diplomatic stance between the two. Also, I didn't really feel like it was pertinent for me to build a bunch of units, especially since I don't believe I had funds at the time, in order to shoot down the remaining Venoms. There's only like 3 of them, there's no air towers anymore, so it's not really something for me to worry about. Now, there is a way to play this mission and perhaps be faster or more economical about it. The reason I say this is because, much like the southern base, you only need to capture her HQ, and it will flip everybody who's still alive to your faction, to your side. And while that's nice and all, the problem with it is that perhaps on an easier difficulty this would be more feasible. But the problem you have is that this cliff face necessitates that you build some units and have them all transported. So you have to build an air tower. Now, the air tower is kind of something you're going to be purchasing anyways because of the desire to destroy their own air towers and bombers and Venoms. However, you then have to contend with a bunch of flame tanks, and after that you have to contend with a lot of fanatics. So it's not quite as easy to just run a unit in there and capture it and, flip everybody over.
We must get to work.
Operational.
Stealth unit detected. Building captured.
Keep rocking.
Objective complete. Our base is under attack.
Weapons
Battlefield
prime.
expanded.
Operation.
Killian's northern base has turned to your side. GDI reinforcements approaching from the north.
Had I really been thinking about it, I could have probably just had all my units on this eastern side and cut down a bit of the travel.
Ion cannon. Eliminate it before they use it on Killian's headquarters. Eliminate the GDI base to the northeast of Ayers Rock. Do not let them destroy Killian's headquarters. Revenge is for Kane alone.
So apparently Killian doesn't have an underground bunker that can survive ion cannon strikes. What kind of planning is that? It probably would make a lot more sense to go after this northern base first, just because it has all the production, but I figured I'd just attack the ion cannon control first, and then proceed further. Sadly, beam cannons, having the range that they do, can't seem to outrange the sonic disruptors, which is just kind of a pain in the ass, really.
3 minutes remaining.
Venom craft ready for liftoff.
Unit promoted.
Waiting. Engage.
There's also one other downside. I mentioned it as well in the previous video, or previous not mission. GDI gets infinite power, which again is silly, because there's just so much that rides on these sorts of things, and it would be very nice if it wasn't something that the AI could abuse.
We're trained right on them. We got
Units lost.
Being able to stop them from producing as quickly, or perhaps depowering their defensive structures. Something to reward the player for the actions that they take. Instead, they just kind of get like free attacks, like free production, free base maintenance, that sort of thing.
Avatar. Weapons prime. Just.
How's it looking? All right. Yep. Don't lose them.
It's like I nuke their base. I figure I'll just take out these 2 power plants. Maybe that's like they have a couple barracks and war factories. But no, even after destroying all their power, they're completely fine.
What is it?
On patrol.
Operation.
If anything, I'd say that the real frustrating part is that you have a choice between targeting the anti-air defenses or the power, with the assumption that the power building may perhaps be a little bit tougher than the defenses, but supplies the power. So you have the dilemma, I guess we'll call it, between which to use, which to attack, which to destroy. And the fact that the decision should probably always be defensive structures is a little sad to me.
Don't lose them.
Mission accomplished.